order of the Board of Education, Lincoln Way High School District 210, Thursday, September 20th meeting. Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Give a roll call, please.
Mrs. Lax. Ms. Janice Doyle. Here. Mr. Luchetti.
Here.
Mr. Lulo.
Here.
Mr. Janik.
Here.
Mr. Costick.
Here.
Mr. Kirby.
Here. Thank you. We have no one signed up for to address the board, public address the board. So we'll move on to our student council president. And I get to take the order. So we'll go with Hannah.
Hi, my name is Hannah Kolkowski, and I'm the president of Student Council at Lincoln Way Central. We've had a great start to the year this year, not only in Student Council, but in Central as a whole. The hallways are always lively, and my classes are filled with smiling faces. I look forward to Fridays for many reasons, but one is definitely seeing all the red and black spirit wear throughout the school. This week especially has brought about a lot of spirit wear because of the big game this Friday night against Lincoln Way East, which everyone is excited for. And then next week is homecoming already. Our student council has been working hard since the start of the year to prepare for homecoming, and our theme this year is a hero's homecoming. Our spirit days consist of pajama day, which is a classic, sports jersey day, who's your hero day, and 80s day. Homecoming week is always very busy, but a lot of fun for the entire school. Some events occurring next week are Road to Reality, Homecoming Olympics, and then the Homecoming Pep Assembly on Friday. This year, Student Council is also introducing a new addition, which is Mr. and Mrs. Knight. It will replace the homecoming court, which we've had for years in the past. It is a chance for two enthusiastic, spirited, and central-loving students, a male and a female, from each grade level to be nominated by their peers and teachers. They will be announced at our Pep Assembly after a vote, and many are looking forward for a new and exciting change. After homecoming week, Halloween night is next up on our calendar, and this community event will take place on Saturday, October 27th. Thank you.
Not that you feel old. All right, thank you. Very well done, Hannah. Maddie.
My name is Maddie Phillips, and I'm the Student Council President at Lincoln Way East. Things are getting busy and exciting in the halls of Lincoln Way East, and this Sunday kicks off our homecoming week with our annual homecoming parade throughout the neighborhood. Over 800 students and staff will be participating in our parade throughout Frankfort. The celebration continues next week as Student Council has planned spirit days for students and staff to participate in. Students have formed homecoming Olympic teams, and events are as follows. Monday night will be our Olympic night on the football field, and Wednesday night will be a dodgeball tournament. All throughout the week, teams must participate in the Spirit Days in order to gain points for their team, and the team with the most points will be selected to participate at the homecoming Pep Assembly. Friday, during the Pep Assembly, we will crown our homecoming king and queen, and Friday night, our football team will be playing a huge game against Homewood Flossmoor. Next Saturday, September 29th, Lincoln Way East Student Council will be hosting Homecoming Jungle Jam. Entertainment is being provided by B96 Boom Entertainment, and last year we had over 2,400 students in attendance, so we are expecting another great turnout. Over the next few days, our fall sports have some important games. This Friday night, Lincoln Way East hosts Lincoln Way Central for a big football game, and we will be honoring Mrs. Jagabussi as the 2017-18 Teacher of the Year. Next week, volleyball has a big game against Lincoln Way West, and the boys soccer team will be playing HF on Thursday night. Thanks to our activities director, Mrs. Pearson, Mr. Decker, and Ms. Shaughnessy, several hundred students participated in Wednesday's mindful yoga session during their advisory period. Students learned controlled breathing techniques and became aware of themselves and others during this session. Our students that attended raved so much about the yoga that we have decided to start another session next week. Lincoln Way East is getting their minds and their bodies right just in time for homecoming. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Sydney. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Swanberg. I'm a junior at Lincoln Way West, and I'm the historian for Student Council. A lot has been going on in the starting weeks at West. One of the things that we're most excited about is homecoming. Our theme this year is There's No Place Like Homecoming, which is a spin-off of The Wizard of Oz for the theme. We're going to try 2 new things at this year's homecoming. We're going to have a VIP lounge, which we're going to sell raffle tickets for $1 in the lunchroom. And if you win a raffle ticket, you can bring you and 10 of your friends up to the room, and there will be pizza and drinks. It'll just be like a cool getaway from the dance. Another thing we're going to do is karaoke in the aquatic center. So we're hoping that these 2 things really promote homecoming this year. We have a good turnout and we have good reviews. Another thing we're doing in regards to homecoming is we're going to have a tailgate before the varsity football game. And we usually have a DJ during the lunch hours for the week of homecoming, but instead we're going to have the DJ at the football game. And we're also doing homecoming court nominations, and those will be announced at the pep assembly the Friday prior to. Another thing that we've been doing at West is an Alzheimer's awareness fundraiser. We've been selling these bracelets at lunch. They say "Go Warriors" and "Memories Matter." And the bracelets are $1 a piece, and all of the money raised will go to Alzheimer's awareness research. Another thing that's been going on at West is freshman class elections. All the voting that we've been doing for the freshman class has been through Microsoft Offices, which has been really efficient. And we've been using our technology and our school resources through Microsoft Office to do a number of things, our freshman class elections, our executive board elections, and everything's been running smoothly with that. So we're happy that we're on Microsoft Office now. And thank you.
Thank you, ladies. All 3 of you, appreciate you taking the time to update us. Our next agenda item is our friends from DLA.
Brian and Lou with us. Rich, you gonna get them set up there? Yeah. I want us to introduce you.
Yeah.
I'll get your technology going.
Good evening. So I introduce myself. My name is Lou Noto, and I'm with DLA Architects. I'm a principal with the firm. Been working with the district for probably pretty close to 20 years, off and on, in different as the projects have arisen throughout the district. So been here quite a while and very familiar with your buildings. And this is Brian Scully. He's an architect with the firm, and he leads the day-to-day operations of all the construction projects that have been going on in the firm for this last summer, which is what we want to show you tonight. We had several projects going on over the summer. Everything is pretty much complete. We're going to have some punch list items remaining, and so we just want to give you a little preview of what happened this summer, and we can go forward. So if you have any questions, just wait to the end, and we'll be real happy to answer anything you have. All right?
So as Luke said, kind of rundown of what happened throughout the district this summer. It should run on its own. Hopefully. There we go. Okay. A little hard to see there. It says bleachers before. So I'll give you these are just some photos of what the bleachers at East looked like. Before they were swapped out. Old wooden bleachers, big expansion joint metal going through the floor there. And now afterwards, brand new plastic bleachers, blue and black, says LW East on them. And what we were able to do when we put this in was get rid of that metal joint that runs through the floor, so you don't have that tripping hazard, and collecting all the dust and the dirt kind of at that area throughout the space. Next was parking. It says parking before. So at East, we resurfaced the parking lot on the east side of the building, and then at the main drive. One thing we wanted to do was we had all these crosswalks and a lot of traffic crossing between pedestrians and motorists heading out to the field, and then also at pickup and drop off. So the district wanted to redo that and kind of fix the problem. We separated it basically. We installed the sidewalk that bisects that parking lot with the crosshatch there you can see as drop off and pickup lanes. The district is also putting in a crosswalk to the stadium there with some gates that will be installed. So it gives you an idea of kind of how everything was separated there, traffic flows, the new traffic flow, and there will be a video here in a second kind of taking you through a little overhead shot of what happened. But you can see how the cars kind of took to it right away, knowing exactly where to line up. This is along the main drive along Colorado, the resurfacing there. And then this is a better shot of what's happening on the east side there. You can see that sidewalk bisecting coming right out the athletic entrance or exit there toward the stadium. And as I said, everyone knew exactly what to do. That's an overhead shot, so you kind of get an idea of how that separates the parking lot. And two different traffic patterns that can be opened up if we need to still allow traffic to flow through, kind of like it used to. This is the roof before and after. These are going to be really, really fancy shots here. A couple of joints and some flashing that needed to be redone, and it basically did a recoating of the roof, which actually saved quite a bit of money. You can see it's hard to tell. They took off all the stone on top of the roof, put a new coating down on top to seal everything, reflashed, painted the flashings, and then put new stone right over the top there. So if you weren't up there and didn't see it happening, you probably wouldn't know. But you can see there, that's before it kind of really seeped in. So there was the black spots where it's kind of the tar coating still bubbled up. Security projects, security door hardware. I can see taking pictures of some of the exterior doors of the building beforehand, main offices, main entrances. There's no card reader or buzzer system after the fact. We have card readers at a lot of exterior doors now, so the district can control that or know who's coming in and out. Contacts on all the exterior doors, so they can read into the system who's coming in and out. Card readers inside the building to bisect certain parts of the building or shut parts of the building down, and then on the exterior doors again, card readers, and you'll see in the next shot here. The silver box there is an intercom system with a camera, so it goes right to the reception secretary desk, and they can control and keep everyone in a man lock as they enter the building. And finally, the tennis courts over at East. So the tennis courts beforehand, I think everybody knows that they were in pretty bad shape. Some very large cracks, fencing kind of old. You can see these cracks. It was not safe for play. So we were able to come in here and take off that top layer of asphalt, fix the stone, and then put in new asphalt, new fencing, a new detail on the drive there, and it looked really nice. People were getting on them right away. I mean, before the windscreens are just being put up, I think this week. So people have been on them, and I've heard most of the compliments, so that's a good thing. That's the view from over the top, the color scheme selected by the district. Like I said, that was like the first day they were allowed on there, and you had tryouts, and there were dozens of kids on there.
Thank you. Any questions for Lou or Brian?
So, just taking a step back, you know, these projects are a big part of, you know, kind of the capital projects are a big part of our discretionary spend here. And one of the things that was brought up, going back to how these were bid, and it was so we basically received two bids. One was kind of the parking and the tennis court were put together, and then just a general trades bid. And it was explained to us that it was DLA's recommendation, best practices, that you would combine those bids and wouldn't have, them be able to be taken apart. Like, for example, tennis courts you would assume are very discretionary, right? The parking lots are something, you're gonna probably, want to fix. And it seemed to me like there would be specialty, companies that would work on tennis courts only that would want to do that, and parking lots separately. So why wouldn't you bid those, separately? And then on the general trades, you had various things. You had bleachers, security, roofing, all put into one bid. When we initially saw the board, everything was kind of a line item, and then brought in a bid package in two pieces. And it just doesn't seem like, if that's DLA's recommendation.
Yeah. Well, let me just go through it real quick. The first package was the paving project. So we thought it really made sense to put the paving project and the tennis court project together because both those projects have paving in them. So you have to do the parking lots, and then the tennis courts is basically, it's a parking lot with a color code on top of it. So really the only specialty in regard to the tennis courts is the color coding that goes on top, the standards, and the fencing. So we've done this in the past, and we thought it made a lot of sense to do it that way because you can get a better bang for your buck, because the paving project for the parking lots was a very large project. And if if you just did the tennis court separately, we didn't think you'd get as much economy of scale. So that's why those were combined.
Couldn't companies bid on both?
What's that?
Couldn't companies bid on both and then have separate, also have someone that could just bid on the tennis courts and someone could just bid on the parking?
You could, but it's going to be the same people bidding on the tennis court job who bid on the parking lot. It's the same payers bid on those type of jobs because they're used to doing that type of work as well. We could definitely split them up if the board does think that makes sense, but in our experience, putting those type of projects together is economy of scale. You get better pricing. And as far as the roofing project, that was bid separately. The roofs were not part of the general trades. That was a separate bid package. And we do believe that roofs should be separated from the other projects, so that's why we do roofs separately. And as far as the general trades package was concerned, there was a lot of door hardware and a lot of carpentry work involved in that. And so that was one package. And then included in that was the bleachers and what else do we have in there?
There was an alternate for some remodel that was not accepted.
That's
but,
correct.
Bleachers.
Yeah, so the bleachers,
well.
so bidding the bleachers out separately, I guess we could have done that. But with all the work that was going on at East, we thought it made some sense to put it with the general trades. That one, it could have been pulled out because it was more of a specialty. So that one could have possibly been pulled out.
One thing to note with the bleachers and the security together is you had an electrical component for both as well. The bleachers had electrical that had to be upgraded, and then with the security there was electrical running to all the car readers and things like that. So you had the same electrician actually doing both things because it was under one general contractor. So that obviously helped them get in, get out, and save some money that way because they were working in the same space.
And a lot of times these specialty contractors are not used to coordinating multiple trades. They're not good at it. They're good at what they do. They're not good at coordinating everyone else. So we take that into account when we try to package this together as well.
Stay on that topic just for 1 minute, kind of a follow-up question. So in your opinion, because we're going to look at this later tonight on our agenda from an informational perspective to kind of get out in front of the bid season, is it a deterrent to say, and we'll just stay with the parking lot and the tennis courts, to say, to direct you or whomever who does the bid letting to say, we'd like to see a tennis court, a parking lot, and then a combined? Or are people going to step back and say, you know what, I'm not going to bid because we're putting in that specific type of manner?
No. We could package the project and then just write the proposal. Parking lot is, bid number 1. Bid number 2 is tennis courts, and bid number 3 is combination. We definitely could do that. We have done it in the past. That's no problem.
Because I think that's where a lot of our discussions kind of circled around last year. That's why we're bringing it in September, trying to make sure everybody understands.
Yeah, we're happy to accommodate the bid packages however the board thinks they should be packaged. We'll give you our recommendations, but there's many different ways we can package these, and we're happy to work with you on that.
Just want to make sure all of a sudden you get no responses because we broke it into 3 pieces. So, okay, very good. Any other questions? Thank you. There's a lot of good work over the summer. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so for tonight's curriculum and instruction update, we have the first of 4 departmental updates that we will have during this school year. And we begin tonight with reading. Our reading department is rather unique because it has always served our students with the foundational skills for literacy and academics that they're going to need for all of their classes here at Lincoln Way and even into college. But it also continually evolves with the needs of what our students are and what our curriculum needs. So with us here tonight to tell us all about the reading program as a whole are our reading department chairs. First, we have Bridget Cheer from Lincoln Way West. Also from East is Mrs. Erin Venezio, and new to our reading team this year is Lindsay O'Farrell. And so I will bring them up and they can take it from here.
So when she talks of, hi, my name is Bridget Shear, about the foundation that we lay for our students the freshman year for their success for all 4 years of high school is the literacy language. We teach a word like sub-searching. So any teacher on the freshman through senior level can give a student an article or a piece of text and say, here, I'd like you to sub-search this. They take sub-searching to college with them. It's how does a reader mark up text. The Greek and Latin word parts are a great foundation because 65% of our words come from Latin, about 10 to 15 come from Greek. And so students learn these word parts and they're able to study their history, or especially biology. So much of biology is from the Latin. And they use that all 4 years to really help them memorize vocabulary, but also for word attack as well. The freshmen know that they really look forward to getting their permit. And they know that Jesse White is the person who will sign that, but they don't know that he's also the state librarian. So there are some state literacy initiatives that we support. One is Read for a Lifetime, and we do that with the, in conjunction with our librarians. We work pretty closely with them. And then Letters About Literature. And every year in each school, we usually get a semifinalist, which is pretty much a big deal. So it's a great opportunity for our kids to enter into that contest. It's an award that will go on their transcript. So we like to give them that opportunity. We have always had a bedrock of standardized test prep in our program. Whether the state has us doing the ACT, PARCC, or SAT, we've been pretty flexible in being able to take those tests, break them down, see what's needed, and then prepare our students for that. Reading in the content areas is huge. We have math, social science, English, and science, so we have units with the students on, well, how do you read math? We read math differently than we would read science or our English. And of course, we can't talk about reading without talking about reading comprehension. So we do a lot with reading comprehension and skill development, improving their skills. I tell them, you know, if you quit taking math your freshman year, how's calculus going to work for you down the road? So we do, and always preparing them in those regards. We do have, it's now freshman seminar, so we do evolve when the district needs something or something comes down from the state or federal, because we have the college and career readiness standards. We created a career unit that we do second semester in conjunction when they do course enrollment. So as they are trying to decide what classes to take their sophomore year, are they looking at more of a career in tech or college? What courses do I need here at Lincoln Way? And so they get a chance to research that. So that's been a nice addition. Math and science, it has become much more wordy, and word problems are key. And so in conjunction with the math department and science department, we have created a math and science unit on how to read math. And so this is the second year we've done that. In fact, you can see one of the science teachers teaching with us in the classroom. And boy, we've learned a lot about math working with them and science. So that would be a STEM, great STEM activity. The technology unit this year, in conjunction with Dr. Murphy and our IT at each building, we created and got the freshmen in immediately with their passwords, which always is kind of a challenge with them. And so getting them on Skyward and checking grades immediately, not waiting for a couple weeks where they kind of just stumble upon it. We do that with them right up front. And getting them into their email so that they're continually checking their email. And so that was really a nice addition this year. And of course, now that we know SAT is the bid, we are going full throttle with our SAT practice. And so I will hand this over now to Mrs. Venezio.
Hi there. So reading is our other class, and that's the class for the kids who come to us and they're not reading quite at grade level. And so the majority of those students are scoring when they take their junior high placement, usually around 20 or below. And so we want to give them a little extra in addition to everything that Bridget mentioned. This particular class is taught by a reading specialist. And so the primary focus is on improving their comprehension, but also giving them reading interventions. And a majority, a lot of the intervention that we've used, we're going on year 4, has been a program called Achieve 3000. And this has been a very beneficial program for us. Basically what happens is when the kids come to us at the beginning of the year, we have them take what's called a level set test, and it measures their current reading level. And so once the kids, we have a reading lexile for the kids. Once we have that for them, then they're reading articles at their independent reading level. And so we don't want to give them an article that's going to frustrate them, so we give them an article at an independent reading level. Everybody is reading the same article, but depending on where they're at, maybe one student's article is a little bit longer or has a little bit more in the way of vocabulary. But this has been a great intervention, and what it does for us is it drives home the idea of active reading. So, the active reading is what they need to be able to do when they're in their upper level classes, and then when they're getting ready to go into college, they have to be an active reader. So this really gives us a great opportunity to do that. We try to give them an article 2 times a week, and so what a majority of us do with that is we read an article in class, and then to give them that extra practice, we do assign an article on the weekend. And so that article, they have generally, we assign it on a Friday, generally that article then will be due on a Monday. And so they can do a little time management on their own and figure out when they want to read that. And there's a wide range of topics that we can use for that article. So, we try to match up topics that are going to go into their content area classes. When we start doing the Greek and Latin word parts, for instance, if they're on biology word parts, we'll try to do articles that are centered around biology. So this has been a really great resource, and they give us good feedback. They give us good data, and again, with the technology, the kids come into the room, and a large part of it is getting a routine established. And when you have somebody who struggles with reading, it's like with anything. We all know our strengths and our weaknesses, and a student who struggles a little bit with reading, they're very well aware of that. And so this is done in a way that is very supportive, and they know that they're growing because we can, give them the feedback, give them the data back, and we really like using it. A little bit of those statistics there. A little over 60% of our kids are using it after school and on the weekend, and then just a general growth from where they start to where they finish. We're a little over 100 in terms of the reading lexile, so this has been a very beneficial thing for us.
Title I is an advisory where students are chosen, usually from their 8th grade teachers. They recommend them for this. Sometimes it's based off of test scores, or also students that are found through the RTI process. But basically, it is just an advisory that is there to give them that extra support that they may need. We do reading comprehension strategies with them, and writing skills and note-taking skills, but the big thing is really just helping with their organization and extra help that they may need in all of their classes. So the advisory teacher really just works on those skills with them and stays in constant communication with their other content area teachers as well as their parents to help with whatever they may need. So just keeping track of those missing assignments, extra help that they may need, getting those missing tests done or retaking things with them. So it's just a really nice chance for them to get those skills. We have senior mentors in there as well that also help with day-to-day questions that they may have about high school that they maybe don't want to hear from an adult. And they also work on social skills and just really getting them used to freshman year and hopefully building up those skills that will help them succeed for the next few years as well. As a whole, the reading department really just tries to serve everyone, the students and our staff, especially with that test prep support with SAT now and ACT as well, whether it's doing practice tests and then going over all of the answers with the students and helping them get ready and with the timing. We also are involved with the RTI process. So whether it's finding those kids that maybe need to be added into the Title I advisory, or really just the 3 of us will try to pull students out ourselves and work with them individually and get them that support that maybe they need in the areas that they're struggling with. We also work to support our special services department, so maybe helping them also find resources, or again, working with certain students, especially with the Achieve program. We have quite a few teachers this year that are new in special services to using the program. So we are kind of acting as a liaison to help get them using the program and it working for everyone. We also present at professional development sessions. So again, trying to get all of our staff to also know what we're doing in freshman seminar and reading so that they can use those skills and strategies in their classes as well. So again, it's something that we hope continues on, not just in all of their classes freshman year, but throughout the rest of their time at Lincoln Way, and then when they also leave Lincoln Way.
Any questions regarding our reading department or programs? Come a long way.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate your time. Next agenda item is the budget hearing. So the hearing, obviously, within the meetings, we will now open the hearing for the fiscal year 2019 budget. Anyone who would like to comment on the 2019 budget? There are no comments. I'll entertain a motion to close the budget hearing. So moved. Motion, is there a second? Second. Vote, please.
Oh, he's out there. Did you want to verbally vote?
Sure, yes.
Mr. Janik?
Yes.
The vote is closed, the motion passes.
Thank you. Our next item is our consent agenda. Tonight, the consent agenda exists of approval of the minutes from the August 30th, 2018 meeting, approval of the closed minutes from the meeting August 30th, 2018, approval of 2010 advisory minutes from April 9th, 2018, approval of the payrolls of September 5th and September 20th, 2018, approval of District 210 advisory meeting calendar for 2018-2019, and out-of-state travel. Does anyone wish any of these items pulled and discussed separately?
Yes, out-of-state travel.
Okay. Fully out-of-state travel. Then is there a motion to accept the other items as part of the consent agenda? So moved. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second.
Oh, I'm sorry. The vote is open.
I do.
Motion passes, the vote is closed.
Thank you. So then, item number 6, out-of-state travel. Chris, do you have questions or comments?
Just some questions. I mean, I'm fine with it overall. I think, just to clarify, we've added the last couple of meetings, I don't know how long it's been, but it has the lines cost to student, cost to organization, and cost to district. I've only seen one that had a cost to organization. It was like $400. This is $8,200. And then I was assuming, and I don't know, do they have a student activities account, or where is this money, this $8,200 coming from?
That would be coming from that would have to be coming from their student activities. Because the $45 is on top of whatever they fundraise for. They do fundraising and different activities.
What is their student activity? Do you know what it's called?
I don't know.
Activity account?
Kelly, you know me, I don't know.
Yeah, which one is it again?
This would be ROTC.
It's within the central accounts. Hold on, let me pull it up really fast.
It's
Oh, so it isn't,
Yeah.
I'm
They
sorry,
have,
I thought it would be under the district.
Yeah, it's
They have money right now, they have about
It's one of the last accounts.
And then normally, and this might not be the case, but normally, even when I see bus travel on these forms, the cost of district says 0. This one says cost of district transportation. I mean, I saw that they're paying for the rooms for the drivers.
We're paying for the buses because this is
This is required.
This is a fulfillment of their requirement. So we do this, and I believe it's Ohio are there two trips.
Yeah, no, I did see that it's
At least 20.
no requirement for the class.
Questions? Anything else regarding this particular item? If not, I'll entertain a motion regarding the out-of-state travel.
So moved.
There's a the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion or comments? Hearing none, vote please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Next action item, presentation of invoices from August 31st through September 20th, 2018.
Motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $3,309,659.89 dated September 20th, 2018.
There's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the invoices?
Just had a question on the Thermosystems Inc., which was a $42,000 charge. Do we know what that was for?
Rich?
Yeah.
That is for a compressor for the main chiller at Lincoln Way East. We had a compressor burn up and we had to purchase a compressor. That was for the parts, and then we hired air quality and we paid their labor to install.
And that's the actual physical hardware that was purchased.
Yes.
Any other questions regarding the invoice? Motion and second. Call for the vote please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next is Treasurer's Report for August 2018. I'll entertain the motion to accept the Treasurer's Report as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and second. Correct.
Thank you. The district received revenue of just over $4.5 million this month for August and expended just over $11 million. The final cash balance for the end of the month was $14,171,777. Including within this was our remaining outstanding warrants of $7,950,000, which have all been paid off as of September, but we're still outstanding in August, resulting in a positive fund balance of just over $6.2 million. Regarding the cash flow, which is included in your package, the district collected $500,000 in more revenue for the month of August than was originally projected according to with the cash flows. Most of that was other local revenue, interest income. Then as far as expenditures go, the district actually expended $1 million more than had been projected in the cash flow. Most of this is with the timing of the how we had our meetings in August. We had 2 meetings, so we captured a few more bills. That was a big part. And then expenditures actually were the opposite way in transportation, because we were still waiting on the final 2 buses to be delivered. So we hadn't made our lease payment, which we typically do in August. We've now made all of those in September. And then we had capital projects. We were a little under on that. We were waiting for some bills. We've now got those in September, so you'll see those bills for approval next month. Or actually, they're on the list of bills for tonight. I apologize. So that really, for the Treasurer's Report, as far as the financials, related with that, we're off to a good start. I put in a little explanation there on the report. So with that, just would answer any questions anybody might have on the reports.
Any questions or comments regarding the Treasurer's Report?
I have a question about the cash flow statement. There's a top payment scheduled for next week, but there's nothing listed on it. Are we not making a payment?
Yes, because we went ahead and I could have deleted that line out, but we did pay off. So on September 14th, we made our final payment. So the 28th payment was not necessary. So.
That was a good write-up on financials. On the cash flow, is this based on budget or budgeted amounts, or based on past actual results?
So it's to answer that question, it's kind of a combination, if you will. So total revenue, total expenditures are based on the budget. But what we do is we take last year's actual performance based off of the actual percentage-wise, and we then extrapolate that to our current expenditures budget. The only exception is we already know with our evidence-based funding, we're getting a little bit more, so we went ahead and adjusted that. But otherwise, expenditures match out to the budget, revenue is a little higher because we already know we're going to have that additional $490,000. So that explain it. So it's spread based on prior year's actual experience.
Any other questions or comments for Brad?
Can you take the timing out of all this, Brad, just the raw numbers? Revenue and expenses are still trending where they're supposed to be?
Yes, right. Especially on the revenue side, you know, we're off to a little slow start, but we know that's going to happen.
Right.
So, you know, because we collected that 1.3 million extra.
Sure.
So we're not concerned about that. We're off to a little slow, but we expected it. It's all going to be good.
Anything else? Additional? Motion to second, call for a vote, please.
Vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Next item is student activities report for August 2018. I'll entertain a motion to accept the student activities report as presented in your package. So the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or discussion regarding student activity? Got anything?
Yeah, there were two accounts in the negative, one IHSA Central, one Cheerleading Central. Cheerleading, obviously they bought materials for the upcoming winter season, so that will be taken care of due to timing differences, and also IHSA Central has been taken care of as well. So at this time there are no negative balances.
Any questions or comments regarding the student activity?
Just, I don't know if this is, how this is coded or whatnot, but the few items that are still listed as district and they're under central, can we move them to, since we now have a district category, can we move those, like the life transition program and Steve Netzel Memorial is a district account, looks like.
Can we move them out of central?
Can you move those into, like,
So-
under the district
Well,
category?
yeah,
I think
well-
there's a Siam account that's still under central. Okay.
Yes, what we can do is take another look at those over the next month and come back with some thoughts.
Any other questions, comments? Call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Okay, next are personnel reports. Rob?
All right, tonight we're going to start off with resignations. Under resignations, Taryn Atwell, Director of Community Relations. Ginny Grove, paraprofessional. Barry Trudell, pool tech. And Kaylee Falsey, paraprofessional. Then under leaves, we have Ashley Schlipka is requesting an FMLA and a parental leave, which will begin in the month of November and go to the conclusion of the school year. Ask the board to approve these leaves and resignations as presented.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and second. Any questions or comments regarding resignations and leaves? Not call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Under employment, Mark Zook, bus driver. Henry DeBoer, bus driver. Rondell Ring, paraprofessional. Sandra Davis, secretary. Jennifer Hannon, director of community relations. Derwin Bass, custodian. Ronald Hamden, maintenance, and Donald Burnett, custodian. Ask the board to approve these employment recommendations as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions or comments regarding the employment? There are none, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Under retirement, Steve Paulson, teacher, requesting to retire under TRS June 1st of 2020. I ask the board to approve this retirement as presented.
Entertain a motion to accept the retirement report.
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Multiple seconds. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments regarding the retirement report? If not, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Let's skip there for
Go ahead, the next one, remove me to do that, except for you, Rob. Go ahead.
I'm up here and I got it up on my computer. So every year we are required by law to post our teacher administrator salaries and benefits, their compensation, and also any of our IMRF employees that have a compensation package greater than $75,000. Both those documents are in your backup materials. I ask the board to approve both of those documents. The Public Act 960434 and Public Act 97609.
entertain a motion to accept the compensation report and the IMRF report as Rob just presented and as it is in your package. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any questions or comments regarding either report? If not, call for a vote.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Next action item is the appointment of new members to the District 210 Advisory Committee. I'll entertain a motion to appoint the committee members as presented in your package. So moved. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion, questions, or comments regarding these appointments? If not, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open.
Thank you.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Okay. Next action item is the adoption of the fiscal year 2019 budget. Entertain a motion to adopt the budget as presented in your package. So moved. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the budget?
Give
Do you have a little presentation here?
Just to give a quick overview, and then we can open up for more questions. The administration first presented the board budget at the workshop on August 2nd, came back on, then put it up on August 20th for public display to meet the 30-day requirement. Then on August 30th, met with the board again under question and answers regarding the budget. To summarize the budget, total revenue at $106,666,000. That is down 2.52% versus the actual. It's mainly due to the extra collected taxes in the prior year, and we are on a cash basis. And then total expenditures for the budget, $106,618,825, which is 4.78% higher than last year's actual. For all funds, we're expecting a $47,175 net surplus that you can see in your page 5 of your budget books. As far as operating funds go, total revenue $90,273,400, which is down 2.87% over last year's actual. Total expenditures for operating $87,500,000, $488,900, which is up 3.28%. Net estimated surplus for the operating funds, $2,774,300, which is 3.17% of expenditures. According to Board Policy 420, we should have at least 3%. Estimated fund balance at the end of the fiscal year, $10.5 million of operating surplus, or 12.1% of expenditures, and our goal is to be at 12%, which, as you can see, is recorded on page 9 of the budget book. With that, open up for any final last questions and recommend adoption.
Any questions for Brad? To reiterate, Brad, this is purely operating budget, especially on the revenue side. It doesn't contain any sale or anything of any capital asset.
That is correct.
So one of the points I brought up, and I think we should revisit, is the capital outlay that's currently in the operations and maintenance fund. It's at $600,000, and then we have a remaining balance in the capital projects fund. The budget amount in there, capital outlay is $3 million, which would have a ending fund balance of $681,000 roughly. And one of the things I brought up, I mean, first, how much have we spent in capital projects? I mean, this is already the summer work that's been done, correct?
Right. So out of this, so there's $3 million. So just so the public understands, so with the, by law, we have to adopt our budget by September, but our budgets actually begin July 1st. We do our expenditures for our summer work, we do that right away. So our expenditures for our summer work are coming right off this budget that we're still approving. So to answer your question, go to the treasurer's report. So on the treasurer's report, so for capital projects, as of August, we hadn't had any, but we've, working capital projects, 1.25 million, and I know we believe we have like 600-some thousand in this month, so we're like 1.8 million already expended in our capital projects.
But isn't there also work that's been done that hasn't
Oh,
been
yes.
done yet?
Right.
So what would that bring the total to?
I would think, Rich, we pretty much have all the major projects already done, just a matter of getting the walkthroughs and all the bills finalized. So from practical purposes, I'd say probably 90% of that funds are already spent.
I think from Fund 60, we spent about $2.3 million so far on capital projects this year.
Spent, but what about committed that just hasn't been paid out yet?
It'll be a 3.6
total
by the time everything is closed out. Right.
So the point was we already allocated that money from the capital projects, and we talked about this at the time. We were spending basically that countdown to zero. I don't know why we would keep in restricted funds 600,000 that's already been, allocated, and then have the budget line in the operations, which isn't restricted cash, of $600,000. I mean, and I think if you looked at the answers that were provided, I think there's a lot of support for having this being taken out of the capital projects versus O&M. I mean, it reduces the amount of PAWs we would have. It increases the operating surplus that we would have, strengthening the district's financial position. And, this fund, what is it, what do we call it? Fund 60? Yeah. I mean, those are restricted funds, so if something, happened, we would have an issue because we couldn't spend it on anything else besides capital projects. So, I think, at the time, we made a decision as a board to spend $3.6 million on capital projects. It should all come out of that fund. It's going to be very difficult this year in February to, make decisions on those capital projects, which I brought up because you're taking it from the budget coming up that you don't know. You're gonna probably have a change. You could have a change in administration. There's a lot of changes at the state. You're not going to know a lot of that stuff that's going to be coming up for the next fiscal year. But again, it just seems to make sense that we did the capital projects, which should come from capital projects and not have that restricted cash still sitting out there. So I would make a motion to remove the $600,000 from to amend the budget that was presented and move the $600,000 from the capital outlay under operations and maintenance and increase the $3.6 million the capital outlays under the capital projects.
Brad, would we be in compliance with state law then if we adopted that motion?
Yeah, yes. So, state law allows, think about it like this. Say you had a bunch of community members come forward at the public hearing and said, brought up a very valid point, you wouldn't expect the board just to ignore that, right? Well, the same is true for board members. Right up till the adoption of the budget, you can make changes. It can be different from what was posted. That's completely legal.
Member Lucetti has made a motion. You want to say it one more time, Chris?
So we would remove the budgeted amount and capital outlays under the operation and maintenance fund. So there would be no capital outlay under Fund 20, and we would increase from $3 million to $3.6 million the capital projects Fund 60 budget for capital outlays.
There's a motion to amend the budget based on that explanation. Is there a second? Second. Being bold also.
Second.
Okay.
Is this a second?
No, this
is the motion to adopt the budget with that amendment.
Oh,
Correct.
it's an amendment
Yes.
motion.
So it's an amended motion.
All right, very well.
So made by member Lucetti, seconded by member Platt.
Thank you.
Whereas because the capital is restricted, the capital. Is there any reason that we put that 600 that you want to speak upon?
Certainly. If you kind of remember the path we've been down, about a year plus ago, I think there was concern we were spending 60 down too fast. And so in response to that, we certainly just looked to build as much capital into the operating funds, if you will, that we could support based on our budget parameters. And so if we were kind of looking at trying to balance that out, giving us some flexibility down the road, so next year, depending on how tight operations are, we could still have 600,000 in there if we need it. Member Lucetti has a great point. It's restricted funds. So, but we were just trying to balance that between keeping the operating funds, making sure we're hitting over 3% surplus, at the same time pumping in as much capital, slowing the spend down on Fund 60. So trying to meet that fine line balance. I personally find either way, it's really up to the board.
Is there a downside to zeroing out that account, I guess, for next year?
Well, to Chris's point, there's several unknowns that you are staring into an abyss.
I understand.
By moving it around, it gives us the flexibility versus relying on unknown sources.
I'm just looking for a downside.
Well, the other question I would ask, Chris, you have something to add, is an intra-fund loan prohibited from the
Yes, for capital. So you can interfund loans within operating,
right.
That's fine. Loan from, you can loan to capital, but I don't believe you could be loaning back from capital.
as one.
Right. Sure. So if we spend, we're spending regardless, so.
But if it sits in that fund, the ability to move it even through an intra-fund loan is restricted. So it creates flexibility is what is proposed.
Right, that's good. So my only question would be is, so we run a 3.5% surplus this year. Do I get credit on it for next year if I can't quite come up with 3%?
No.
Oh, okay, well then I really want it left at 60 then.
And can you move money from the operations and maintenance fund to capital projects?
Yeah, you certainly can, or you can just make the expenditure from that.
Right. So there's really
No downside.
That was really my question, if there's a downside to this thing,
it's going to be harder to hit.
That, if it gets down from my seat, that's the goal. It's, 600,000 is a little more help if we get tight on the 3%. If not, we'll have to find it.
So
But as a board, we made a decision to spend that 3.6 million on capital projects, right? So that's what I'm saying. It should come out. I mean, we looked at the capital projects. There was 3.6 million in there. The decision was to spend 3.6 million. We don't take 600 and put it in operations and maintenance. We take it from the capital projects.
And then the 3.17 number that you use for the operating surplus for next year, I believe, would that be, that 600,000, would that then increase that to
Well,
3.5?
2.7 million surplus.
Okay, I thought you said 3.17%.
Oh, 3.17%, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So that's
that-
gonna up that
oh,
number.
just,
It's gonna be like
about
3.5,
3.5,
yeah. So,
But again, that's not why I just,
No, no.
it's just being done to enhance the flexibility and the maneuverability of the funds. Well, and I think Chris, we're talking about percentages and surpluses, but you got an unknown down in Springfield that we've got to keep our eye on. Well stated, thanks, Chris. Any other questions or comments? So now we have the amended motion to adopt the budget. If there's not, I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Very good discussion. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Next is the adoption of our tax levy. Talk first, Brad?
yeah, do you want to have the motion, or you want me to give us?
I'll do the motion. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the adoption of the 2018 tax levy as presented in your package.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Okay, Brad.
All right. On August 30th, the administration provided with the Board of Education the estimated tax levy, or what you call the tax determination per state law. Within that tax levy, we estimate our new property growth at $75 million. This is really to ensure that 100% of all new tax property will be fully taxed. With that, with those numbers, we have our total operating levy is estimated to increase at 4.06%. That includes the new growth, which is below the 5% threshold in the truth and taxation limits, which so that with that, we're not required to have a notice or a public hearing on our tax levy. But finally, just to make sure, on average, existing taxpayers will experience a 2.1% increase in their tax. We'd recommend adoption as presented.
Okay, are there any additional questions or comments regarding the tax levy?
So what's being filed is the same as what we said last, what was presented last.
Right.
No changes.
No changes.
About how we got about the real estate tax narcotic. Sooner or later, they determine this math probably is not going to work. So at some point, we've got to change this process, but it's not going to happen tonight. So. All right, we have a motion and a second. If there's no additional comments, call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. The next action item would be the proposed issuance of the district's educational purposes tax anticipation warrants, and that the Board of Education would consider the adoption of a resolution authorizing the issuance and the sale of said warrants. The resolution sets forth the parameters for the issuance of said warrants and sale thereof by designated officials of the district and summarize pertinent terms of said parameters, including the specific parameters governing the manner of sale, length of maturity, rates of interest, and purchase price for said warrants. The resolution provides for the deposit of the district's taxes for educational fund purposes directly into a designated escrow account to secure said warrants and the execution and delivery of a tax escrow agreement in connection therewith. Aaron, please read the resolution.
Yes, resolution number 2018-19, resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $20 million tax anticipation warrants in anticipation of the collection of taxes levied for the year 2018 by the Board of Education of Lincoln Way Community High School District number 210, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, for educational purposes, the sale of said warrants to Old Second National Bank, the deposit of said taxes directly into a designated escrow account, and the execution and delivery of a tax escrow agreement in connection therewith.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as just read.
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion regarding this.
Thank you. Based on the estimated cash flows, the district is expecting to be about $18.5 million short for being able to provide its own monthly cash flow, since the district gets 76% of its funds in two main payments, that is June and September. Administration is recommending tax anticipation warrants not to exceed $20 million. At the prior board meeting, the Board of Education asked administration to seek additional or more quotes regarding our tax anticipation warrants. With doing that, administration reached out to 5 other banks, 4 of which declined to provide tax anticipation warrants due to our credit rating, and 1 that did. At the end, we had 2 providers, Old Second Bank and PNC Bank. In the end, Old Second Bank was the lowest, but they redid their quote of 2.75% on a fixed term. It turned out to be $1,760 lower than PNC Bank. Ice Miller, District Bond Counsel, has prepared all necessary documents included in for your signatures and execution. And administration would recommend moving ahead with Old Second Bank for this borrowing. Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I think this is good. I mean, the original rate from Old Second was 2.95%. Going out and getting another bid, Brad was able to, actually, when they didn't seem to be willing to reduce that rate, they did reduce the rate down to 2.75%. So the rate is actually higher than PNC Bank, which is 2.65. The PNC Bank would have the $7,500 attorney fee to get everything in line. So Brad did a really good job of getting these quotes and getting the rate actually reduced by about $11,000
in an increasing rate environment.
And I would just, now our shortfall would be 17.9 million.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. If there are none, I'll call for a vote, please.
The vote is open. Mr. Gannon? Oh, okay, fine.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's not popping up on my computer.
Okay. The vote is unanimous, the motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Good job, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
All right, informational items. Report on the Lincoln Way Special Ed District 843 Governing Board meeting. Ron?
I attended that meeting. much like tonight, we had a budget hearing, and the 5-member districts approved the budget for the governing board, approved it, so we're good through June 30th of next year. That was the most significant thing of the meeting. That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for Ron regarding 843? Thanks, Ron. Order requests.
Order requests are included in your backup materials. Entertain any questions anyone might have.
Scott, there were two requests that didn't have any results. Are they still being reviewed, one from 9-4 and one from 9-6?
No, they've been reviewed by PAC, and we did not violate FOIA by holding back.
So it's been fulfilled?
Yes. So, no, it has not been fulfilled. We don't have to.
Ah, okay.
Any other questions regarding the FOIA request?
And what about the last one, the 9-6?
That one we're still waiting on, and some will be released and some will not. So it will be interesting to see what the Illinois Policy Group does send to PAC for review. Anything to add to that, Dr. Murphy?
Yeah, that was submitted on Tuesday of this week. So we responded to before the memo was, or after the memo was created. So it's been completed.
Thank you.
Next, informational is audit status.
Nothing to report. Everything's been turned over. We're just waiting at this point. Anticipated presentation in October.
District 210 advisory.
Yeah, excuse me, the advisory committee met last week for the first time for this school year. I'm happy to announce that we have a new chairperson, Brian Walcott, and a new vice chairperson, Sean Healy. We added 4 new students. We have 2 from Lincoln Way Central, Dylan Leonard and Kylie White, 1 student from East, David Vargas, another student from West, Erica Johnson, and 1 new parent, Janine Corrado. We also discussed and approved the meeting dates for the 2018-2019 school year. And the current topics that we'll be reviewing, hopefully in the next couple of meetings, and researching include study and review of the GPA indexing and weighting of grades. And also we are going to study and review the semester grade totals, meaning should we continue with the 40-40-20, quarter 1, quarter 2 final exam, or open it up to a more modern 80-20 open semester. So that's what we'll be researching, taking a look at, doing comparisons with other schools, things like that.
Any questions for Beth regarding the advisory committee? No, thanks, Beth. Appreciate it. Next, building and grounds report.
Included in the operation and maintenance report is a draft 10-year capital improvement plan. Included in here is $3.9 million of expenditures. We will have a better idea when we come back to the table in October whether or not we will get some additional state funding to pay for some of these capital projects. Also in October, Brad will have all of these numbers fit into the 5CAF, and that will be part of the presentation. What I would just invite the board to do between now and the next meeting, take a look at next year's expenditures, email or contact us with any questions, and we will also be providing some backup material as we move through this process. The roofing has been deferred 1 year. Right now we're working with a potential solar company for energy conservation, and there's a couple options there that we have to continue to discuss and work out before we come back in October. Brad or Rich, would you have anything to add?
Just we'll be ready to how this all fits in the 5CAST, ready to discuss that. We'll have this adjusted and ready to go.
And we also plan to have the architects at the meeting for discussion of how and why we would potentially package any of these to go to bid. So there will be an action item on the next meeting to approve the engineering, design, and bid of projects. So that will be discussed at the next meeting.
Any questions regarding buildings and grounds?
Where did these numbers come from, these estimates?
Yes,
We're looking 10 years out.
Oh, for the roofs and such?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. The estimates for the next year are estimates that Rich has gained through working with our engineers. Rich, you go ahead and talk. This is your set sheet.
For next year, parking lot renovations came from our pavement survey that we did with our architect several years ago. The hardware upgrades in the building are actually from the alternates that we bid last year. So we know what those costs came in at last year, so that's how we're estimating this one. Tractor surfacing, also from our architects. The conditions have changed slightly at the tracks since they did their survey, so we added a little bit of money to that for some additional patching. Security cameras we had are the current company that we use, Survey Central and East, and give us a budgetary estimate to upgrade.
Your question a little more out.
Yeah, I was looking more towards the 2027, 2028. I mean, I know we're having a 10-year plan, but we're putting, you know, it's kind of hard to estimate.
It is, and we talked about that. Dr. Tingley and Brad and myself talked about that, and we're kind of concentrating on the next 3 to 4 years right now, being as accurate as possible, and we know that we have some work to do in the out years.
Be safe to say you just put place markers, knowing that the useful life of those will expire, and you just want to get a number.
So those numbers aren't hard and fast. That's not what we're budgeting for 10 years from now. It's just placeholder.
No, and if you look down in the, as we go out further, if you look down in the bottom, there's, let's see what we call it, the line, to be determined. We have the 600, 900, you know, as you're 5, 6, 7 years out, there's more money down at the bottom of it to be determined that if prices do change, that gives some flexibility.
Any other questions? Thanks, Rich. Next, asset of the month.
Asset of the month is constructive use of time management, model responsibility in your daily life, and make a commitment, follow through. At school, expect students to act responsibly and notice and affirm them when they do, set clear and reasonable consequences when they don't. And then in the community, be clear and explicit about job responsibilities for team workers and teach them how to meet those responsibilities.
Legislative report.
Nothing to report at this time. We will just wait patiently and see what unfolds here over the next couple of months.
Very diplomatic, thank you.
Yes.
Superintendent's district report.
The only thing I included in the backup materials is the Illinois Assessment Readiness in grades 3 through 8. The only reason this is significant is that they've left Park, but they did not explicitly choose an ACT, SAT. So it appears they're going to leave the high school alone. So we'll just kind of continue to monitor that situation as it goes. But this won't directly impact us, but it was the release this week of what they're going to use. It would be DRC for grades 3 through 8 in the state of Illinois. So we'll continue to monitor that situation, but at this time, no impact to high school.
Questions regarding the superintendent's district report? Number 9,
Madrigals. As we know, we have received correspondence from the Freedom from Religion. So when I received that correspondence, we meet with the building administrators and we talked about it a little bit. I know there are those that would challenge the request to stay out of the church, and that's completely understandable. My job is to take emotion and personal view out and do what would be best for the district. Now, several years ago, we were put in a situation where the Madrigal program itself was challenged. And I was part of the group, along with Chuck Starr, that reworked the program to take the focus off and for us to continue that program. So my first response was to protect the Madrigal program, take the scrutiny away, protect it in its entirety. In discussing with the Madrigal directors and our music chairs, each school performed 2 to 3 times in churches each year. Taking into account the dinners and other performances, that would be maybe 20 to 30% of their season. The church performances were also 2 to 3 songs. So taking that into account, they performed concerts, obviously their Madrigal dinners, their main performance. We also had to consider the cost to litigate. This group has the resources to litigate. could cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the question is, should the district move in that direction to potential litigation for potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for 6 to 9 performances a year? In discussion with the administrative team, I said that maybe it would be our best decision to stay out. Protect the madrigals, keep it away from scrutiny, and continue to move forward. Now, the board has asked me to revisit the decision. I completely understand, completely makes sense. And we have done that. Included in the packet this evening is a memo from John Izzo. We had conversations with John after the board asked to reconsider. I came back to John and asked for the opinion. So at this time, after working through this and talking with other school districts, there are other school districts who were also approached by this group, their decision was just, we're going to stay out of the church. So I'm not going to name those. I don't want additional scrutiny for those districts, but they don't have the rich tradition of programming that we do. So with that being said, at this time, it'd be my recommendation the madrigals are able to perform in church buildings under the parameters that are included in the memo. Most notably, students should not participate in a worship service. So if they go in the evenings at a cantata, a candlelight choir, and they're part of a non-worship service, John believes it would be permissible under the Constitution. Participating during the Mass or worship service brings it into question. Now, there are those attorneys who believe it doesn't and would like to argue the case. I guess from our standpoint, it's which direction do we go? It would be my recommendation we allow them to perform in the Saturday evening cantata, but we do not take part in the worship service. The memo has been shared with the music department chairs. They would be in agreement, and then, hearing feedback from the board, we would move forward and move in this direction. Now, the scheduling is done by the madrigal directors. There are madrigal directors who have already reached out to different churches to say, hey, let's do a Saturday at Lincoln Way West, and everyone from these congregations can come. I've had pastors already reach out to me and say, hey, we understand. We still want to be part of it. We'll help pay for a show if you want to do something at Central or Lincoln Way East or Lincoln Way West. So I think there are solutions to this. My main motivation is, number one, to protect the program, and number two, to protect the district as we move through this. Thoughts from the board?
I think your estimate of litigation expenses is kind of low. I'd probably put closer to 7 figures than 6 figures, but other than that, everything sounds good.
And I think the other noteworthy thing is that it's clear that students are not required to participate in these. I think that was probably one of the things that stood out to me.
Correct.
And I think just because the building is a church, as long as you're not traditionally doing it on a Sunday, I think any other time is fine, but why quote the bear? Why get in a situation that could be, controversial? I think if we stay away from a Sunday morning or afternoon.
Well, that was just my question. As far as coinciding with the religious worship service, they go in before Mass, after Mass? Just not during the middle of
During the worship
Mass
service.
or service, I'm sorry.
During the worship service, correct.
Right.
Just because the building happens to be a church doesn't mean correct.
So that's still the acoustics and the experience and all the stuff that we talked about is just not in the middle of the service.
We wouldn't want to damage anybody. It's fine. Okay.
Does it have to be an action item next time?
No. It's not this would not be considered a policy. If the board wanted to make it a policy, then we would move in that direction. But right now, it would be considered an administrative procedure.
Just as long as we're clear, we're going to follow all the guidelines. Everyone's comfortable following all the guidelines listed here. As long as we follow the 5 guidelines, I think I'm comfortable with this.
This has been shared with the leadership, both music and madrigal.
Leadership of the department chairs, yes. I have not met with the Madrigal directors yet. I wanted to talk to the board first.
But did you get any response from the department chair?
They were in complete agreement with this.
Because I know there was a sense of urgency, and we're in September,
Yep.
schedules are getting created, and so that was part of what we were trying to solve, was to not have the current class of Madrigals.
Miss out on opportunities.
Right.
Correct.
My only thought on this, and as I said it here, is cleaning up the language. It should not coincide with any religious worship service. The performance shouldn't be during, just because coincide, when I read that, and you cleared it up for me, but I don't know if anybody else had that when you were going through this with the department chairs, if there was any question with that language.
So number 4, correct?
Yeah, just to clean that up, just so there's no confusion as to what coincide entails.
Before, after, yes.
Yeah, just so.
Yep.
Separate from.
Should not occur during any religious worship service.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would also have like a check on here where there's directors and there's the musical chair that, the director of Madrigals is bringing the songs selected so that they include both non-religious and secular. Yeah. So
Yeah,
make
we'll
sure
be-
we have enough Santa songs in there.
Yeah, we'll be checking everything or anything.
Given the sensitivity, I don't know, you mentioned if we wanted, the board might want to consider making this a policy, so we have it. I don't know if it's necessary, but I want to make sure it's.
I would, the only, I guess if we start to get into programming, then you get into athletics, and I think that, the discussion and the direction is healthy.
Sure.
But I don't know that we want to, that the board would want to get in that.
I would say that we showed our governance by encouraging
Yep.
the senior administrator to evaluate for different options.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, and you'll, yes, just for, maybe you could report back to us once you've got the Madrigals.
Once we get the scheduling done,
Yes, I want to hear also just the feedback, because we're in the little bit of a tough period.
Yep.
Especially if there's any feedback from this group outside group.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all that update. Again, thanks everybody for your feedback. Other district business. Is there anything any members would like to bring up this time? I know he's here tonight. I don't see where he is, but I want to give a little bit of an accolade to Steve and Lakeway Central Administration. My phone blew up this weekend, and it was for all the right reasons. They handed out signs for their AP scholars and everything else that was going on there. So I applaud you for your effort there. That was great. Also, I looked down and I'm like, oh, there's 3 texts, there's 4 Facebook messages. What happened? And it was all smiles. And so, thank you. And everybody, so then I had the opportunity to run into or spoke to at a later date about that, where they're just bursting with pride, not only for their student, but for the school. So congratulations. That was a big one.
Also for Dr. Murphy or Cheryl, or I don't know if Amy does some of that, but it was nice to hear one of our students tonight say about the email addresses and utilizing those. And a lot of times we sit up here and we don't really know if these things are going to work or if it's a good idea or what it is, but it's just nice to hear good positive feedback that it's being utilized. So thanks for implementing that or bringing that to us. It's nice to hear.
Anything else?
One other thing, it's our 2nd year with Brad, and it's our 3rd year with Kelly, and I can't emphasize the importance of their leadership in the budgeting process, and in terms of how far we've come in a very short time. So I just appreciate their efforts. I appreciate them working with the different departments within the school to set those parameters ahead of time and to truly do that itemized budget that we talked about 3+ years ago. So thank you for the efforts, and it continues to improve.
Congratulations. All right, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. Closed session will include the following reasons: collective negotiating, establish sale or lease price of real estate, litigation, meetings between internal and external audit committees, finance committees, and their equipment. So I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? There will be no action item, that's correct. We anticipate no action item.
No, you don't need your